Suicide, it hits us all equally. It doesn't matter how much money you have in your bank account. It doesn't matter how shallow your pockets are. It doesn't matter how many years you've been clean and sober or how strung out you are in that current moment. Rich or poor, black, white, brown or green, gay, straight, like none of that matters. Suicide affects us all.
Little things happen, that people say or do to remind us that we are on a good path. What we are doing is beautiful, as taboo as it may be. So, a lot of people talk about doing something, taking action, but very few do. And we're living on the streets every day, helping these people, helping the homeless, street kids. We do this 365 days a year. We don't take a day off. Even when we want to take a day off, and we pull off somewhere you don't think anybody will ever find you, they find you.
And we all need to know, no matter what stage of evolution that we are personally at, that we have that right to grieve. And if we could do something, if there is such a thing as bringing positivity to that heavy feeling of a loved one being gone, well, that's the whole idea behind it, is to be able to give that person a release, whoever it is. And so if people reach out through social media and they want to add a name that way, or if they want to drive halfway across the country, or we just happen to be showing up in your little rural community, it doesn't cost money. Come on down. Mental health should not cost money. There should be more billboards across this nation that say 988 crisis hotlines, much less globally. And so what we hope to do is to carry that weight for you. And if it means receiving a firearm, we'll go down to a welding shop, we'll weld it together and we'll display it. We displayed multiple knives and chains and other tools that people committed with, that the loved ones who were left behind refused to get rid of that item because it had such memory. But at that same time, the equal yin and yang this world provides us brought them so much hindrance. And so that's something that's truly unique that I feel that both me and Kelly are doing with our approach on this crisis of mental health.
Well, I actually met Corey through the suicide awareness bus. I had been following him on Facebook for quite some time, and I seen his posts and his novels that he would make, and I was going through like a really dark time in my life. A lot of depression issues. I was at the end of my ropes, just very heavy-minded, to where I was myself about ready to commit suicide. Just like out of the blue, I don't know what really made me do it, but I reached out to him, and I think the very first thing I ever said to him, I was like, man, I really wish I was on that bus. And I came out for a little while and hopped on the bus and seen what Corey was about, the person that he was, and I fell in love with the idea of being able to travel and help. Ended up staying there on the bus for, 2, 3, 4 weeks before I went back to the East Coast. Pretty much put everything in order, and he drove all the way out to the East Coast to get me, and I got back on the bus. He saved my life, really. That bus, him, he really helped me in a dark time. The suicide awareness bus saved my life. Corey saved my life.
As a young man, age of like 23 to 26, I found myself on the streets. I found myself into addiction. I found myself falling into a substance and not being able to pick myself up out of that substance. And I did that substance once for a year and a half straight, methamphetamine. March 6th of 2006, I decided that I needed to do something different. And the only way I knew how to do that was to get away from everything I've ever known. And I went out on the highway and I walked out of Phoenix, Arizona, and I put my thumb out and I didn't look back. And within a year, I bumped into some people that are going around the country as a free food kitchen, and they were giving food away, trying to encourage people to be sober. That moment, I felt I found my calling. I got my own bus, my first bus 16 buses ago. I got a bunch of propane equipment and cook gear and started going park to park, feeding the homeless people, because I suffered enough to want to help others and knew what it was like to be that hungry. I also knew what it was like to have a substance control my thoughts, my actions, my will, my desire to do anything other than that substance. And I wanted so much more for myself. Once I was able to find that for myself, I wanted to give that to others. I wanted to give it away freely and abundantly, and I wanted to be able to shake people with nothing but love and gratitude, and let them know that love that they're receiving, that gratitude they're receiving, is the will of somebody who is a recovering addict that wants to be able to encourage somebody else to not use. And so that started outreach for street kids, and that went for many, many years. It was actually 2 years before Sabali that something came to me, and I said, well, we need to start turning these free food kitchens, these outreach buses, into billboards. And so that became the brick wall, and we hand painted a 40-foot bus with different bricks, and we started designating bricks to our loved ones gone. And then from there it turned into Sabali. And as next bus, when we're able to finally get to our goal, 45 more days, we chose a name, and that name appropriately being Phoenix. Because this mission will rise through the ashes. We will be back out there in your small town, America, giving anybody that needs a chance to come on down, mark a loved one, to do so. And for some reason, we know it with every inch of our soul, it's exactly what we're supposed to be doing. We'll both designate the rest of our lives toward doing so.